Ba-ba-bum. I think we are live now. Right. If we're live, just let me know, guys. I haven't done one in a long time, so I do apologize. In the meantime, just do let me know. I hope we are. And yeah, so are we live? Please, someone let me know in the comments. I think we are. It says we're live. Okay. Well, hello, guys. Welcome back to the Invertcast. Today we are doing a live version of this podcast, and if you guys are new to the channel, I haven't done one of these in quite a long time. It's practically been over a year. But just to explain what this is all about, it's basically a podcast series that I started, all about inverts, talking about husbandry and breeding and everything in between. Now, today I'm really, really excited, guys, because I'm going to be introducing a really good friend of mine. We're going to be chatting all about true spiders, scorpions, and other invert-related topics today. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And yeah, just to bring him on screen, introducing Hannes from The Spinner. Is it? There we go.
Hello there.
All right. So we are live. Just a quick hello to everyone. And yeah, thank you for joining me today, dude. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I'm not.
Yeah, let's just start off the stream by introducing yourself. You want to talk about like yourself, how you got into the hobby and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was always interested in reptiles or in animals in general. So when I was in kindergarten and earlier, my parents always took me to zoos, or we went out in the forest and looked at all the plants and the animals and stuff. And I really started early to get interested in reptiles, especially lizards and geckos were the holy grail for me as a kid. And then in second grade, I got 2 leopard geckos. And when you get pet reptiles, you go to reptile expos or in pet shops to buy feeders. And I think when I was 8 or 9, I saw some phasmids at one expo. I don't know the English common name, and I can't remember the scientific name either. The really common, normal brown stick insects, like this big, just brown ones.
Decent size, probably Indian stick insects.
Yeah, I think from Vietnam, or the classic.
Oh, one of the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I started with keeping phasmids in 4th grade, and then I had my first like breeding successes with walking leaves and other species of phasmids when I was between age 9 and 10 and 11. And then the ball started rolling, and I got into mantids and some beetle species, some African flower beetle species, some stag beetles. Nothing too crazy, but everything a 10-year-old could keep alive. And when I was 13 or 14, I think, I thought to myself, you can't be a real exotic pet keeper if you never kept tarantulas. And then
very true.
Yeah, then I went to the next expo in my hometown, and I got my first Caribena versicolor and one Clilocatel albopilosum, so absolute beginner classics, beautiful spiders. And a week after that, I got 5 more. A month after that, I got 20, and then I stopped counting. And yeah, now I'm here, all into true spiders, scorpions, centipedes, all that stuff. You know how it works.
All the cool stuff, man. So, as we're delving into the true spiders today, let's talk about them first, and we'll move on to. I know your passion is the scorpions and stuff. Well, of course, we'll talk about that today. But in regarding to true spiders, so as in comparison to tarantulas, you said you kept them before the true spiders. What made you start to keep them more often than the tarantulas? Is there any particular behaviors or characteristics that stood out in comparison?
It all started because we have one shop near my home that is focused on all things reptiles and inverts needs. Like in German, it's called terroristic. Like the whole hobby is terroristic, and it's got feeders, it got terrariums, it got plants and animals, of course. And they had small slings of Copineus guitarsi, the orange Copineus sali version from South America. And they had this picture on their website of this adult female, and that it had those stunning colors. And I did know nothing about the species, and I just Googled them. And back then, they were in the same family as Phonorchia. Now they are in the fishing spider family, Trechalidae. Back then, they were Ctenidae. And I was really afraid of the venom, but today I know they are completely harmless. But I bought one small sling of them, and I was really surprised quick it how quick it's grown to an adult compared to tarantulas. As I said, my first tarantulas were Caribena and Brachypelma back then. And Brachypelma, of course, they grow like stones. And I was really fascinated by the fast growth rate and the extremely active hunting behavior. Because as you know, Cupineus, they spot something, they fall from the ceiling, they go completely crazy on that feeder insect. And that was so cool that when this female was adult, I searched for males. And then I got to know one of my best hobby friends until today. He lives like 20 minutes away from my home, and we emailed back and forth. And then together with my father, I visited him, and he had the two Cupineus males, and he saw that I was really interested from an early age on, and then he gifted two Heteropoda lunula slings to me too. And
nice.
then he was like my true spider mentor. He taught me everything about handling true spiders, like what do you do when they escape, or some easy packing tricks and stuff like that. I'm really thankful for that. And from that on, I was really, I left the tarantulas behind me because they were too slow growing, and with true spiders, you can really experience a life cycle in 1 or 2 years, a complete life cycle from egg to egg again. So that's one of the most fascinating things about the invert hobby. I think that you can witness life creating and ending so easily, and you don't have to it's not as complicated as with reptiles or amphibians, where you need specific parameters, or where you can easily do it very wrong. And with inverts, it's pretty easy to witness this really, really cool thing about biology.
Yeah, honestly, with the true spice, there's a passion I've started to pick up recently. Obviously, we've been talking behind the scenes of breeding projects and stuff like that. In regards to that, any particular spiders that you have bred? I know, like me, you are a younger member of the hobby. So, right, for me to say age, or if you want to say, it's
I'm 19 years. I'm 19 years old.
yeah. So you're 19, I'm 21. So obviously, we're considered more of the younger side of the hobby. What kind of achievements have you done with the Truce so far? Is there any specific project that you are really excited about achieving, or stuff that you want to do in the future?
I really like the genus Heteropoda. I mean, these are obviously the most common true spiders in the trade, I think, together with Cupineus. And they are definitely one of the most known true spiders, with the Heteropoda maxima, the largest spider on Earth, and famous species like Heteropoda David Bowie. I mean, the Heteropoda David Bowie, when Peter Jäger described it, it was all over the news because a spider named like David Bowie, looking orange. I really like this genus, and I bred Heteropoda venatoria at first. This was my first successful spider breeding. I mean, quite easy. Venatoria are not something really special. They are easy to breed. They are easy to raise. They are cheap, and they are just brown, but they are really interesting spiders. And after that, I had this chance to try Heteropoda boei, the big green. They have these big green males from Malaysia, and
they're beautiful.
I don't know where I got them from. I think a friend gifted like 6 slings to me someday, and then I had 1 male and 5 females. Yeah, and I paired them up, and after a few months, I drowned in Heteropoda. I was so flashed by this success. At first I thought it wouldn't go like that, because when I started to try to pair my spiders up with tarantulas, it never worked. They always ate the eggs, or the eggs went bad or something like that. But with Heteropoda, it was really easy. And then I was one of the only guys in Germany who had this species, and of course everybody wanted them. And then I could trade and make new friends and stuff, and that really I don't know if encouraging is the right word, but that really encouraged my stand in the hobby, if you know what I mean. So I learned I met new people, and I got new species with that breeding project. So this is one of my favorites. And of course, the Heteropoda lunula, the famous Malaysian purple huntsman. I think these are easily one of the most beautiful spiders out there. And
100% agree with you there.
one of my favorite species. I bred them five times now, and I wrote an article about them for a German reptile magazine. And these are just one of the coolest spiders out there.
I definitely agree with you there. Like, I think right now in my collection, I've got 5 females, all at various ages. Got three adult females, and 2 juvenile females, and then 1 mature male. And my God, those colors are just something else, isn't it? It's like you don't even need to edit it. Just seeing them in
Yeah,
person, a little bit of light reflecting on those legs, just something else.
and the males too. The adult males are snow white, and normally adult males look kind of boring. But with
Dull and
Heteropoda,
brown.
but with Heteropoda, the males in Boai, they are completely bright green, and in Lunula they are white with those little spots. Beautiful males too, and
Yeah,
I
it's
love
like
that.
with the bow eye, it's like every single photo you see of a bow eye, if it's green, it's a male. Because with the females, as you know, they do dull out as they get older. So it just shows that not every female will end up pretty as mature. I mean, with most inverts, to be honest, the females look good when they're young. As they get older, they start to dull out, they lose a bit of the color. Like, for example, tarantula wise, Barupis moxagorum, that bright neon blue.
Yeah,
Eventually, they go black. Same with the Lanula. They kind of wash out as they get
yeah,
older, with the juveniles having that bright purple, and they get a bit more brown, a bit dull when they get older. But the males are just something else. David
yeah,
Bowie, they're still bright orange. The bow eyes light green. Lanula, as you said, like really nice white. Mine's kind of like a whitey green color with all those little spots. Just waiting for him to make a sperm web so I can pair up my females.
okay.
But definitely agree that the Sparacidae or the huntsmen in general are by far one of the most interesting groups or family members, families you can keep in the hobby. As probably you say with Heteropoda, is there like a specific family that you are more passionate about, like one that you want to start working with more that you currently don't work with?
We already spoke about this off screen.
Hmm.
I want to take a deeper look into Eriside, like Eresus and Gandana Nemo, a really hard name to pronounce. Uh, Also, I hope that everyone can understand my German pronunciation of the scientific names. If not, please tell us in the chat. And Erisida are pretty cool because they are kind of special. They have this special life cycle, and they are, to my knowledge, unbreedable. So there's no real breeding record of them yet. Only there's one guy in the Czech Republic who's an arachnologist who is working with them. I have another friend from the Czech Republic, Miro from Spiders Cafe, I think.
Yes,
Yes, and he
great guy.
spoke with that Czech guy, but he said, it's hard to get information from him, and he don't really share his information. But
Mm.
Erisida are like unbreedable from what I know. So these are like this could be an work for us to do.
Yeah,
I can't find the right words right now. This would be a cool achievement or something like that. There's more work to do
get
on
the
that.
information written down on papers and
Yeah,
share it with the general public, isn't it? And it's quite interesting because you mentioned that Erisidae unbreedable as far as papers and information out there, but you see a lot, especially here in the UK. We often get influxes of imports of multiple Erisidae species. Wild canary, the orange ring variety, city blue, cinnaberus. I think the yellowhead ones, the Moavicus, or
Komari.
yeah,
Moravicus, I think. Yeah.
yeah, we get a lot of slings. So do you think those are mainly coming from females that are dropping sacks in captivity after being collected? Or do you think it's like, as you said, breeders not wanting to share information on how
Mm.
they're
I
breeding
think
them and just selling off excess slings?
my guess would be, as you said, that these are wild caught females that drop eggs, because there are so many out there, and I can't imagine that it's such an secret to breed them. So
Hmm.
I mean, the people who breed true spiders in large quantities, we all know each other. I know you, you know
Oh,
me.
yes.
We know the you know the UK breeders, I know the German breeders, and someone would know how to breed these, and word would get around. And I really think these are just collected in the wild. I think here in Central Europe they are quite rare. There is one species in England, I think. I don't know which one, and there is one or there are two species in Germany, and here they are quite rare. But in Southern Europe, they are, if you're lucky, they are pretty easy to
Plentiful.
find if you look in the white spots. Yeah, and I think many people from our regions, they often make holiday in southern France and Greece, and yeah, I think they are collected most of the time. I think
That's a really interesting thought.
Gandana Nemo, the African species, these are
Yeah.
captive bred. I think you had an egg, right?
Yes, I haven't announced it anywhere but my Instagram, but I have had a recent successful pairing of Gandana Menno. This is the larger one. I know there's at the moment in the UK we have a smaller Gandana Menno which has been imported from South Africa. I think they're Proculi or something like that. They're quite small. I've got two females at the moment. I'm going to see if they're going to pop egg sacs or if they're just small juveniles. But yeah, pretty easy to pet her up. I co-had the male with her for a couple of weeks. Luckily, she didn't eat him because I know Tom Patterson, his female tried to murk his male. You can see, I don't know if you've seen the picture of his
Yeah, I
Instagram.
saw it.
Literally, you see the female lunging towards the male as he's taking that photo. So I think I got pretty lucky on that hand. But yeah, I've got 11 healthy slings. I believe inside the sac, the babies were eating the infertile or younger nymphs as they were molting out into slings. So pretty interesting cannibalistic behavior because with the rest of the day with like Stegodifus and Stegodifus, I don't know how you would pronounce that. But they cannibalized the mum,
Yeah.
which is a shame. But I know you take interest in the seasonal stuff, so it would be interesting to have a note on Irididae in the future, and hopefully me and you can achieve that
Is that
at
the
some
same
point.
case with the African species like Gandana Nemo? Are they? I think the word is matrifag or matrifagus. They eat their mom.
Matrophagus or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah. So yeah, they Gandana Meno don't actually.
Okay.
Looking into it, talking to a few breeders, they luckily they don't. And the only reason I found out they don't is because as this egg sac was pulled, I pulled it a little early. I got a bit worried. She popped another one. So
Ah, okay.
it's that's the only
Nice, man.
reason I
Nice.
found out. But I was looking at
Fingers
Tom
crossed.
Patterson's stuff and talking to other couple of breeders that they can produce multiple sacs. So I'm hoping she'll pop another one. Hopefully a bit more fertile this time around rather than 11 slings. But hey, more than nothing.
What kind of eggs do they build? Like, do they wrap like these hang mats, or do they do this little balls like tarantulas, or?
What they'll do, well, I haven't seen them do it, but they'll actually attach it to the main webbing. So they
Okay.
will build like I think I've got them down here. So I've got my Erisa species blue, just a small enclosure, easier to hold. So they'll lay like these big hammocks. And what
Yeah.
she did was she pushed the tunnel open and laid a sack, a circular sack inside
Ah,
of the
okay,
webbing.
yeah.
And she would sit on top of it, guard it, but you would see her wandering around. So she wasn't super protective over this egg sack. Even when I pulled it, she kind of just darted away. So she'd rather the eggs get eaten than her. Good for her, I guess. But yeah, mostly just sat there moving around, had a drink because I gave her some water. I gave her prey. She'd take the prey. So quite interesting behavior watching her eat and drink whilst protecting an egg sac.
Yeah, I think in nature they are found mostly under big rocks and tree trunks. And I don't know about the African species exactly, but at least the European erisus are like they are, or Erisus racaneri, the most famous one. It's always found under big rocks. And a friend of mine found them in Greece, and he sent me some pictures. And under every rock where an erisus was found, there were like remains of beetles and larvae everywhere. So I think they move around under their rock quite safely because they feel safe from predators, and maybe that's the case why the female left the egg sac for eating.
It's quite interesting, especially with Erisidae, like Erisus species. Maybe that she's trying to plump up so like the babies can have as much nutrients from her when she does
Maybe, yeah.
potentially get eaten in the future. That's an interesting note. But with Gandana Menno, since they don't get cannibalized, it's maybe just so she can produce that next sac. Whether if I left the sac in there that the baby would attempt to eat up, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll leave the next sac with her. But again, it's stuff like this that we can always put like, writing together and, put dates of when stuff is laid. With the Gundana Meno, I found it quite difficult to document when she laid the sack, stuff like that, because it's so hidden away. Like she's crammed in between two pieces of cork bark. So
Yeah.
it's quite, needing to move her around and get a torch in there and see. What's actually really interesting as well, that the sack is really camouflaged in the webbing. So it's like this. I didn't notice the sack for ages. So that's why I didn't know if it was fertile or not, because it could have been there 1 week, could have been there 4 weeks. So
Okay.
that's also another thing that's
Hmm.
interesting as well.
Are those communal, or are they what's
I've
the option?
seen people in the UK keeping them communal. I don't know if they work out, because you'll see pictures on Facebook of people keeping them communal, and then sometimes they'll just say oh yeah, successful, but you end up with one big fat spider.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not keeping my slings together, just because it's my first pairing. I promised,
Yeah.
because the female came to me as a gift, so I'm going to give one of the babies to him as a massive thank you for that. Just perfect timing. Friend of mine had a male. My friend of mine gave me a female, so it just worked out. So I'm going to give both of them a sling as a thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not raising my slings together personally, because I want to make sure these guys are okay. And then maybe if the sack's a bit bigger than the next one, I'll raise them communally and see what happens there. But talking about raising communally, that's also another thing that we talk about often.
Yeah.
And one topic that I'm fairly passionate about when it comes to true spider breeding is, of course, communal raising. Um, I don't know if you wanted to explain like reasons that we breeders do so, um, and get to the ins and out details, because I've talked about it in comments, but it's always nice to listen to someone explain
Okay.
reasons of
Yeah.
doing so.
I think the most important thing with communal raising is, or the most beneficial thing from it is that you will get healthier offspring. If you start to separate your offspring directly after hatching, like from out of 300 Heteropoda lunula, when I did this with the first exec, out of 300, I think 150 died in 3 weeks. So, of course, there are more in the sack than just 300, but in a communal, they will eat the weaker slings, and in nature, the weaker slings won't survive. That's why these XX are so big, because out of maybe 600, 700 spiderlings, maybe 5 get adult, and the other ones get eaten or they die because whatever. And in captivity, we don't have predators, we don't have weather changings, we don't have parasites, all of that falls out, but we have a lot of slings, and a lot of them are not strong enough to get to adulthood. And I will, if you've got a rare species, a really rare species, or a really small exec like you have with the Gandana Nemo, then I would raise them separately. But if you've got a species like some Heteropoda or Copineus or Enictinidae, I would raise them in communal. And it's quite easy to, because you just, depending on the genus or the species, it's most of the time it's the same method. You take a big box. I normally use ones that are 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters, a bit of substrate like sphagnum moss or a mixture of whatever you like to use, and then you throw it full of cork. Like you put in as much cork as you can fit in, and then you put in your exec, and from week to week you put in some Drosophila or some other small feeders, and then after 2 to 4 weeks you can separate the stronger slings that are already bigger, because when you raise slings in groups, they grow significantly faster. I did the experience with Heteropoda. Excuse me, all
All good.
Heteropoda species I bred so far. When I separated slings, the separated ones were in first insta, and the ones that were in group were in third insta with every Heteropoda species I had. So, yeah, raising in groups is just more beneficial for a breeder.
Yeah, it's again, it's a win-win situation, isn't it? So, like, with the breeder themselves, me and you, we have a lot less mouths to feed. We're not sitting there for 3, 4 hours opening 300 sling pots
Yeah,
and tapping in a few flies and trying to make sure those flies get in that sling pot. We're not having to constantly upgrade these spiders and watching them miss molt, of course, taking dead ones out and stuff like that. And as you said, they grow a lot quicker. With my first Peloctinus hematosoma, so if you guys don't know, those are the red fang wandering spiders, had a first sack. I separated those, not every single one, I kept a few in the tub, but I took a lot out because I wanted to sell some at the shows. I was a bit excited with them, to be honest. I wanted to share them around. But I did notice a lot of them did die. I didn't sell too many at the show, by the way. A lot of them I just gave away as gifts near the end of the show. A couple of people bought some, but I've talked to some people. I've had 2 extra sacks, so I'm going to sort out replacements for them. But in general, the Peloctinus that I have raised, you see behind me, this old enclosure is full of sling pots. I'm not using it for phasmids. I don't like collecting food plants, so I stopped keeping phasmids. So I'm literally just using this as storage to put all the sling pots together in my room for the meantime. But yeah, just keeping them together. I found massive slings after a month, triple the size of what you would get if I separated them. And you know, I've still got babies from the first sack that's smaller than the ones currently. So it's definitely a significant difference in communal raising these slings. And you know, I'm doing it with all kinds of species at the moment. You said I've got Barolestis variatus at the moment, raising Hogna baderiana together at the moment. Those will be separated soon. Some have already done so.
You need to separate those a bit earlier, because I noticed with Hogna they are really food crazy, and because they are not really. I mean, when they're small, they climb a bit, but they are all together on the ground. And when you raise like Heteropoda, they are in all levels. They are vertically and on the ground and on the side. And with Hogna, everybody's just on the ground, and because of that, you got more spiders on less space, and they eat each other really fast. So with Hogna, I had to go.
You know what though? I've noticed with the Maderianas, they are climbing a lot. I'd show, but I have to dig around in there. But inside the cube, they're always at the top of the tub.
Okay.
Whoever said Hogna and can't climb plastic, clearly lying, because these guys are always staying. You know what? Let me see. Hold on one sec. I'll see if I can get them out. But I found it so interesting that bear with me. See, all along the top, they just stay there.
The small ones can do that, but if they get bigger, they won't be able to.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be separated. There's only about 20 or so left in there. Most of them I've already separated because I owe good friend of mine here in the UK. He gave me the males, so I'm sorting him out about 50 slings from this breeding batch, just as a thank you. And that's, you know, one thing that I always try to do if I've got males that were given to me, or you know, of course, females given to me for the Gandana always try to help out, because you know that's something that should be encouraged in the hobby. You know, we're all breeders at the end of the day, help each other out, let each other enjoy the true spiders. But yeah, so we've talked about trues now. I know you have a personal passion with the scorpions. So if we want to start talking about that, let's just dive right into it. So like with the true spiders, you said the reasons why you enjoy them so much. How about let's start talking about why you enjoy the scorpions? Because I know a lot of people in chat today. I apologize if I haven't been talking so much with the chat. I will catch up later on. But yeah, so what do you find about scorpions in general you enjoy?
I think with the coolest thing about scorpions is that they are birth-giving arachnids, so they don't build eggs. They give birth to embryos, and the mothers carry. I mean, everybody that watched this will probably know this already, but the mothers carrying around the babies on their back, and if one falls off, she puts them back on, and this pretty cool lifestyle in combination with this unique what's the word? The unique look of them with their stinger that holds on, and the pedipalps, and they look like they are prehistoric. I think scorpions, together with mygalomorph spiders, are one of the oldest arachnids out there, evolutionary scene, and they are just amazing. And there are some scorpions that could harm us really bad, but the majority is harmless. But alone the fact that there are some invertebrates that could kill a human that is just really, really interesting to me. And of course, the venom is really interesting to science. For example, Heteroctenos jungceus venom, the Cuban red scorpion. Its venom, it's used in research for breast cancer, and
Wow.
they're already having success with some methods there. And as you may know, I'm studying biology, and because of that, I'm always really interested in how we can use this in science, how we can show people that are maybe afraid of scorpions how useful these creatures are to us humans. And yeah, that's why I like scorpions.
Yeah, it's just, showing appreciation because, you get a lot of stigma on movies and TV and stuff like that, them being deadly. And, you find one and then make the news like, oh, big deadly scorpions are invading, or, some rubbish headline and stuff like that. It's honestly, in general, like, just a quick tie back to the true spiders with Phoenutria, because of their whole reputation, the entire Cetinidae family are
Yeah,
stigmatized
yeah.
to being fast, out to get you, deadly
I
animals,
always see
but
that in posts
realistically,
on. Oh, sorry.
no, you go. It's fine.
I always see that on Instagram posts when some of the more famous people in the hobby, I won't call any names, but when some of the more famous people with more clicks in the hobby get, for example, like the red fang, the Piloctenos hematostoma, the comment section is like, oh, be careful, it's deadly, or isn't that the Brazilian wandering spider and stuff like that. Yeah, but I kept Phonoetria, I kept Phonoetria boliviensis and Phonoetria nigriventa. And I raised both species from Insta1 slings that are tinier, more tiny as a fruit fly, to adults. And I didn't saw one thread poster. I had 5 boliviensis and 1 nigriventa, and they were as calm as every other spider I ever kept. I would say keeping some African tarantulas, it's much worse. Yeah, because as every animal, if you don't scare them, they won't threat you, because they are just small animals. They're scared because we are like 100 times bigger than them. And if you don't poke them or disturb them in any way, they are completely harmless. I wouldn't recommend those to a kid or beginner, obviously. But if you have experience with faster spiders, if you have experience with centipedes or like some of the old world tarantulas, I would say if you are experienced keeper who is older than 18, you should get you shouldn't get, but you can try for Neutria.
Yeah,
Don't make
and
mistakes. Oh, sorry.
no,
Don't
go
make
on, you
the
finish.
mistake I made. I started keeping for Neutria when I was 15 or 16, and
No way,
yeah, I
15.
Yeah, I tweeted them as radioactive. I had like a box and a box and a box, and even if they were like this big, and yeah, the friend who got me into True Spiders, he bred for Neutria, and one day we were there, and he said, "Yeah, I have a gift for you," and he handed me a box with these sling cups with this freshly hatched for Neutria, and I couldn't say no. And yeah, it was some years of your learning, but I'm still alive.
And you know what? That is really interesting to find out that you kept Fiducia when you were 50. When I thought you kept Fiducia, I thought nowadays, but 15? Oh
No,
my God.
nowadays it's forbidden here in Germany. It's forbidden since 2020, I think, or
Oh, okay.
2021. They passed a new law. This complicated thing to explain now, but the oldest female I had died a few months before the law was
Implemented.
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it was legal back then. And I had some species of black widow before. I had Latrodectus
Wow.
hasselti, the Australian one, and Latrodectus mactans from Mexico. And those were, I treated them as radioactive as well, but those were completely harmless, because as you know, this family just can move in their web, and if they are out of the web, they can't do
Really
anything.
clunky.
Yeah, and those were kind of boring back in the day. Now I'm missing them because I can't keep them anymore. But back in the day, I thought they were boring, and then yeah, the Phonotia, they were a bit more fun.
They were the fun ones. Oh,
Yeah.
one day, I swear, when I was actually just going to move on to another question, but like one day, I hope to get this license that we have to have in the UK to have some of these restricted animals. It varies across the UK on prices depending on your council. Um, from a few couple hundred, some places do about £2,500 per year. It just depends, really. I think in my area it's only about £200-300, so it's not too bad. But I'd have to have a facility. I would never keep any of these DWA species in house. I've got family and
Okay.
everything, so rather keep them away. But that was one thing I was going to mention is listening to the podcast you did with the one shared brain cell podcast. It was quite interesting to listen to the species you're no longer allowed to keep. But I've always wanted to talk about the comparisons. Here in the UK, we have obviously the license DWA, and a lot of species are listed under that. So that includes all Buffidae, of course, scorpions. Buffidae were not allowed to keep without the license. Any Latrodectus, Atrax, the funnel webs, Phaneutria, all the genus Phaneutria. What else off the top of my head? Those are the ones I can remember at the moment. But there's a big old list that you'll
Okay.
need, and
So all over
with
the UK,
restrictions.
all
Yeah,
over the
all
UK.
over the UK, you require this license in order to have these animals, and you have to go through a whole process of checkups on the enclosures, check up on the room, so they're both
Okay.
escape proof, and you need to have a vet come verify you, and someone from the council to come see, and it's just all complicated. You need to have training with other DWA license owners, depending if you want to keep snakes and large animals and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, so like in general, Buffidae, no, oh, there we go. Yeah, someone just mentioned Loxosceles. All Loxosceles we're not allowed to keep either. But yeah, so talking about that, differences between us and you guys in Germany, what are you not allowed to keep
So
for
here in
reasons?
Germany, as you may know, Germany is has several states. Like they all belong to Germany, but different regions. And I live in North Rhine-Westphalia, which is in the west of Germany. And a long time we had zero laws. We could keep everything without any permits and no problems at all. But in 2020, some idiot who was not a member of the reptile community uh, got an Naya Kahuta. English name is monocle cobra, I think.
Ah,
Some
yeah, the
cobra
monocle. Yeah.
species. And it escaped because he wasn't a venomous keeper. He wasn't into reptiles. It was an idiot who bought it, and it
Yeah,
escaped.
one of them.
And like for weeks, the whole state was like in panic. In every news show, in every paper, there was panic, and the major or the mayor of the city where this species, the snake escaped, said, yeah, maybe we have to evacuate all the houses in the street and put gas in them so the snake will die and stuff like that. But at the end, it was just like this small cobra that froze to death in the German winter. So they found it dead under the doormat or something like that. But yeah, because of
So it
that,
wasn't even alive when they found it.
yeah, it was dead. And yeah, this whole situation, of course, I think nobody should be able to get venomous snakes without checkups, because venomous snakes, yeah, that's a whole nother topic here. I'm not a snake keeper. I can't say too much about that, but I think you can't compare snakes with scorpions or spiders that are not in the same venom range. You can't even compare their venom, and that's stupid. And now we have, like, every state in Germany has its own laws. Like in one
Okay.
state in the south, they have no laws at all, but another one in the south, directly next to them, they have nearly everything forbidden. They have, like, I think they maybe have a positive list too. In my state, there are some genera that are forbidden. All venomous snakes are forbidden, but not
Oh, okay.
all what's the word,
Rear
rear fang
fanged.
venomous,
Yeah.
like hognoses and stuff.
Oh,
Hognoses
okay.
are allowed, but boiga species are forbidden. Different
Oh,
snakes,
okay.
different laws. And with spiders, Poecilotheria are forbidden. The ornament tree tarantulas, they're one of the
Oh,
most famous
pokies.
genera. Yeah, pokies are forbidden here. And
Wow.
yeah, that's a bummer. I had a friend who lives in my city, and he was like specialized in pokies. He had all pokie species, and he bred all of them for years, and he had to give everything away, because now with the law,
Oh no.
you are you can keep, if you register it, the specimens that you have at the local office, town office, maybe.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, yeah,
City Hall, something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
something like that. But you are not allowed to breed anymore when the
Well,
law
okay.
passed, and so he
So
stopped
the spiders
completely.
just have to die out. You're no longer allowed to breed them.
Yeah, and
Oh,
that's a bummer
okay.
because, as you know, as many species, pokies are suffering from habitat loss, and in
Yeah.
captivity they are easy to breed. And this guy, he had like all species. He had of every species, he had at least 50 specimens. And yeah,
Wow.
yeah, he got out of the hobby because of that, and that's a bummer. And also, I think that was the only tarantula genus in there. Phonoitria, of course, are forbidden. Loxosceles, Latrodectus,
Oh, okay. So
some,
similar to us then.
yeah, some of the Australian funnel webs, but they are not in the hobby anyway, so
Yeah.
don't care.
Doesn't
Um,
matter.
Many scorpions, not all Butide, but there are, I don't know every genus listed there, but many genera are forbidden of the classical ones like Parabutus, Androctonus, the classic desert species. Because the people who make these lists, they just Google venomous scorpion and then the most venomous pop up.
Pop up. No, yeah, those are not longer on the
Yeah,
list. Don't even spell them right on the.
yeah, but fortunately, no Scolopendra on the list, no centipedes. And in some other states, in Berlin, for example, Berlin it's a city but its own state, they are not allowed to keep any members of the genus Scolopendra.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, because there is no study on the Scolopendra venom. There is no study, but some people
Literally
say
none.
it's, yeah,
Zilch.
yeah. But here in North Rhine-Westphalia, I'm lucky I can keep every Scolopendra I want, but I can't keep Pokies anymore.
Yeah, that's like really interesting to find out about the Poecilotheria. It's like in the UK, we can keep every single Poecilotheria. Like there's no restrictions on them at all. Doesn't matter where you are in the UK, Ireland, Scotland, Poecilotheria in general. It's a big thing in the UK as well. We've got a lot of breeders at the moment. Like it's nice to see a lot of the more uncommon ones, like some of the more Sri Lankan species, Hanavan of Sumika, starting to prop up in the hobby. I see a few sellers now have pretty good sized slings, so I know tarantulas, but I might have to get one because Andrew Smith. I've talked to him many times, so it's nice to have a spider named after him.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's stuff like this. People think with Europe, it's always a stereotype. Oh, they can keep absolutely everything. They
yeah,
have all kinds of stuff coming in and out of the country constantly. It's and then the reality now is places like Germany where some of the largest shows are happening within Germany and areas around have limitations, and
yeah.
it's especially with the scorpions as well. Like people think, oh well, yeah, you see them all the time on sales lists. Like I know Mark, what's his name? Mark
Stockman.
Stock. Yeah,
Yeah, Stockman.
he
Yeah,
has his birthday list, all big pile of. I don't exactly know where he's from. Where
he
is
is
he from?
from Lower Saxony, and they don't have any regulations. But
Oh, okay.
if you are like a professional breeder, if it's your job, then you can breed and keep every species. But
Oh, okay.
you're not allowed to you're not allowed to sell to people who live in other states. I don't know if they changed that yet, but when the law came out, it was like that. But I thought, maybe I can, I don't know the English terms for this, but maybe I can register this hobby as my like small time job, and
Hmm.
so I can keep all the species. But that's not how it works. You need some tax stuff, and I'm too young for that shit. So
Nah, I understand that. And well, talking about that, well, oh, my bad. Um, do you where do you see like yourself within the hobby, like pursuing in the future? I know you're studying at the moment and everything. Like for I've written out a few things. Like, would you become like a full-time breeder, or would you go out and try to redo taxonomy and stuff like that? Because I know you're taking interest in the European stuff, especially with the
yeah.
scorpions. Like, where do you plan with all of
Mm.
this?
So the hobby was like always there for me since I can think. Not the animals were there for me since I can think, but the hobby since I was 8. So since I was
Hmm.
8, there wasn't a single day in my life that I didn't thought about keeping breeding or just about some exotic animals.
Hmm.
And because of that, I would say that there wouldn't be a day in my life without the hobby. So I will always keep some stuff at home, and even if it gets worse and I have to get rid of all my inverts, my two leopard gecko females, they will stay with me, and I always need something to I can feed or I can clean. That I can't live without it. I don't know anymore how it is without animals at home. So I will all be
All good.
yeah, I will always be a hobbyist. There were times where I consider it to be a full-time breeder, because when I started to have breeding success with the heteropoda and stuff, I was finished with school and I had like 1 year of free time until my university started. And in that year, I had nothing to do. I always like met friends and sat at home, and I had the time to breed and to sell them. And of course, when you
Yeah,
live at home and you have time, it's easy money. And then I thought, maybe I can do this like on bigger scale. But quickly you do realize that it's a lot of work, and it's I often see beginners in the hobby that say, "Oh, I will get 10 slings of this, and in 1 year they will be adult, and I can pair them up, and one sling is like that much, and that times 100 because one egg will be 100." And it's not that in real life, because so always something is going on, like something dies, a male gets eaten, the female eats the egg won't hatch and stuff like that. So I think it's a wrong direction when you see the hobby as a money income. Um, so I turned a bit away from that. I mean, it's of course it's nice if you can finance the hobby from itself. So you can buy feeders from the money you earn from offspring, or you can. That's my favorite part about the hobby, is like meeting people like you or trading offspring, so you get new species. And I only got to the point where I am now with trading other species. So some people would say I got like some rare species of true spiders or scorpions, and or sometimes people ask me, where did you get them? Where did you buy them? And I didn't buy them. I traded them with friends who only trade stuff because they're doing this hobby for 20 years in their basement, and they don't need to sell to anyone
yeah.
anymore because they have a full-time job and they just do it as a hobby. And because of
Hmm.
that, you can, yeah, I think the hobby should stay a hobby. I mean, that you can make money out of it, and the people who do it do a great job, because we need some importers and we need some big shops and stuff like that. But I don't see myself in that. I will always see myself more like the basement hobbyist who is more into the animals and into the hobby itself than making money. And as you mentioned, I'm studying biology right now, and I always wanted to be a scientist. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an animal scientist, but I didn't know which way. Some years ago, I wanted to be an herpetologist for reptiles, and then for insects, and now for arachnids, obviously.
Yeah,
So in that field, I want to dive into taxonomy. As you mentioned, I'm doing a bit of hobby work on taxonomy with European scorpions. It's not like I'm doing new stuff or I do scientific work. I just like to learn about it, and to cluster information and to talk with people about it. And sometimes scientists see it in other eyes than we keepers, because we always see the whole animal and the whole process of life. And scientists today work a lot with DNA analysis
dead
and stuff like
specimens.
that. And
Mm.
dead specimens, yeah, you say dead specimens. And we as keepers, we have the opportunity to work with alive specimens and see the whole life cycle. And I think scientists and keepers can work together in a good way with positive information for both ways. Here in Germany, there's one famous arachnologist, Dr. Peter Jäger. He described many true spider species. He is very into huntsman spiders. He discovered the heteropoda David Bowie and species like that. And I had the chance to be at the spider symposium, I think, in the Senckenberg Museum in Frankfurt. And there, scientists and hobby people met up and could talk, have a chat, a few beers, and just talk about our passion, that spiders. And everybody can learn from everybody. And sorry, I talked for too long now, but
No, no, no.
but
I'm just
that's
sopping up the information. I'm sure people watching as well people
Yeah, that's
listening after the
in
stream
my
are
opinion
definitely enjoying the information from you.
the most important thing is that yeah, scientists and keepers, that we can work together and can learn from each other, because oftentimes new keepers say, oh, they changed the name again, why do they do that? And that's
Time to get the label makers out.
yeah, and I mean, the one simple name change that is months of work, that's it's people put so much effort in that, and for some people it's a lifetime time work to do like taxonomics revisions, and some keepers say, oh, it doesn't matter to me, I call it by the common name, and that's a bit not shame, but yeah, that's a bit sad. And on the other side, many scientists say, oh, those keepers, they just want to take them out of the wild, and they are not even interested in them.
Thinking
And
about the
sometimes,
money.
yeah, of course. And sometimes scientists don't know how these animals reproduce, and we keepers know it because we
And
want
we
to
do.
breed them.
Hmm.
And a quick example for that, there's barely information on the ecology of Euscorpius, the European scorpions I primarily work with. And I read one paper about the hibernation of Euscorpius carpathicus, and there was everything in the paper about the habitat and where did they find the animals, but there wasn't one single information about when do they give birth, how many younglings they give birth to, and stuff like that. And that is stuff that you can only do in captivity. And there are some scientists who do it under conditions in captivity with in a laboratorium and stuff like that. But those scientists, they may be good in taxonomy, but they don't know how to keep things alive in captivity. And that's where we can work together.
And it's always said, I feel like every single podcast I listen to and every single, like video, it's, scientists and hobbyists are always clashing. Like, do you ever think, like, at some point in the near future, 10 years, 20 years, that realistically we'll start working together more often? Because I know from like Animals at Home podcast, like when he first reached out to charities to help out, like he was basically like told no because we don't want to be associated with hobbyists, like stuff like that, who are generally people are looking to help the species in the wild, and of course scientists trying to I know with the whole thing with the Burupis and the issue with that coming in place a few years ago. Do you ever think like realistically we can sit down and just share information, or do you think it'll always just be like a clash between the two?
I think we are already on the way to this point where we do research together, because here in Germany there's a program that is named Citizen Conservation, and they do, I think they work together on an international level, so not only in Germany, but they mainly do conservation work on amphibian species and some fish species, but they are wait a
Branching
second.
out.
Yeah, they are reaching out, and
Yeah.
the this program works together with scientists who get the data, and with zoos and with private keepers. For example, there's one guy who is really into salamanders, and he's just one old guy breeding salamanders for ages in his basement, and he's like an hobbyist, but he's the guy to ask when it comes to fire salamanders. And they work together with those private keepers to breed these species to save the species, because the species is endangered in the wild. And yeah, so the at least in the reptile and amphibian community, more in the amphibian, because as you know, amphibians are critically endangered, nearly all species of amphibians.
Pretty
And
much, yeah.
I think it's really cool to work to see the work between zoos, private hobbyists like us, and scientists together, and with one goal, to save the species. And that's important. Without this interaction, we can't save the nature. I mean, nature is destroyed in every second, and if we don't work together, and if we always say that yeah, those stupid hobbyists, they only want the money, or those nerdy scientists, they only want their titles, and we can't save anything. We have to work together to save the species.
Yeah, and it's like I know a little off topic, but it's like I keep a species of cockroach. The I'm sure you're familiar, Simondoa concifarium, the extinct cave roach. Familiar at
Doesn't ring a
all?
bell.
No, does it ring a bell? Well,
Cave roaches.
essentially, they're a cave roach species, and they
Yeah.
came from. Oh, where did they come from? God, my memory should be working this time. Essentially, they were found in a cave. They were brought into the hobby. That cave got blown up for
Okay.
mining, so they were only found in that cave. And without the interaction of hobbyists and scientists bringing them into captivity, we would have lost that species forever. And it's stuff like that. People always care about the big, fluffy, fuzzy animals, your tigers, your pandas, and all that. But do you really think the general public would have cared if a cockroach species went extinct?
Yeah.
No. But hobbyists like us, we're keeping them alive in the hobby. And many generations later, I know a lot of people working with this species all over the world, America, Europe, here in the UK. So it's examples like that where hobbyists can preserve these species. We're learning the techniques on how to breed them, how to what conditions to get them to drop, what conditions are best for them to grow quickly, etc., etc. And again, I've always wanted to ask this to people like Andrew Smith when it comes to like the Poecilotheria. I know there's a whole issue with them being crossbred in the past, mixing them because I know they all look so familiar, like Miranda, Vitata. They're all kind of grayish. So when the mature males pop out, people are just clashing them together, and genetic muck ups. But with species that we know we can identify, it would be nice to know, like, eventually if we can pop them back in the wild in conserved areas. I know there are some, but as you said, nature is being destroyed. Like while we're talking now, probably another forest has been just cut down
Yeah.
just now somewhere in the world, and we're losing species at a extraordinary rate, but not in a good way. You know,
Yeah.
how many hundreds, tens of thousands of species we've lost in the past few decades, like 50 years of
Yeah.
advancements of people, like all over the world. How many species have we lost that we never discovered? And it will always be nice to sit down, all of us together, scientists, private hobbyists, zoos, and stuff like that. I'm only saying this because I want Hogna InGens. I want to keep Hogna InGens. Please, zoos. No,
Yes, I
no.
was
But
about to
also,
mention that too. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Clemens, Guinea. They were found in Guinea. One cave in Guinea, blown up the roaches, and since then they haven't been found anywhere else. So technically, they're extinct in the wild until they're rediscovered again, like the coelacanth. But
By the way,
yeah, it's just
I can't see any questions in the chat. So if there are any questions I don't
okay,
answer, please forgive me. I think it's because you control the YouTube stuff. So if there are any
possibly
questions,
yes.
um,
Yeah,
um,
guys, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the comments. I just had a buddy of mine. His name's Phil. He works in one of the zoos, and he always keeps teasing me. He's like, "You're never gonna get Hogna InGens," and he's seen them in person. I'm so jealous. I know
oh,
you've
those are so
seen them in
cute.
person, right?
No, no,
Or
no.
not
I
yet?
think
No.
they are in the Cologne Zoo. I've been to that zoo, but that was when I was 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah, I don't remember anything about spiders back then. But there are I think the Cologne Zoo and one zoo in England are working together with this species, and
Bristol Zoo,
yeah, Bristol
I
Zoo,
believe. Yeah.
and I think it's a hard time because um, if we would get them into the hobby, many people would breed them because they are
Oh
really
yes, I
they
would.
are one of the coolest. They are the coolest wolf spiders out
The
there.
coolest Lycosidae in the world, no questions about it.
Yeah,
Like,
and but the other problem is then it's a money thing because I
yeah,
can really imagine that people will breed them for the rarity and the money, and that's not the sense of the project. But
yeah.
I think it would maybe help because there are some people who bred some leucosa like not leucosa
Oh, excuse
Leucospora
me.
like Hogna and stuff like that. And I mean Hogna Maderiana, for example, is really easy to breed, and I
Very
could
easy.
imagine, I don't know it, but maybe similar climates, similar environment. I mean, of course, the Hochner Ingens, they got their own special environment on their own special island, but I think they may be similar to other European Hochner species, and that could be an easy thing to breed them.
Oh, I wish, man. I'd just have a whole wall just dedicated to Hogner inches. Just have like 50 females just all propped up in the
I
enclosure. I
already
wouldn't get
asked
bored of them.
I already asked the citizen conservation program if they want to take them into the program, but they said, yeah, maybe in the future. Now we are focusing on vertebrates. Um, but oh, now I can see the questions. I think.
Yeah, I can put stuff on. I'm just trying to figure out how to put people as mods because for social media, if you've got any social media, they'll put it in the comments. I'm just trying to figure out. You guys know I'm not great with the StreamYard stuff, so let me know in the comments how to do it, and I'll appoint a couple of you guys to put some comments. Because I know I've got the Instagram scrolling along the bottom, so guys, do be sure to follow him there. He posts some really, really good photos and information about all the species he's currently keeping, and he gets up to like exploring around and finding all different bits and bobs in the wild. I have to do a new. Okay, hold on. Let me see. But yeah, whilst I'm sorting this stuff out, do you want to plug anything in particular apart from your
Uh,
Instagram?
no, actually not. I don't have anything to plug. And with my Instagram, yeah, sometimes I get lazy with the captions. So I try to always put some information in it, but sometimes I'm just in my feeding routine and just taking a quick picture and post it because I think it's cool. And my Instagram is more like a gallery to myself, so I can see what species I've kept over the years and how much they've grown and stuff like that. And I think the Instagram stories really made it easier for me to get my breeding notes because when you bred something and you don't have time to on that day to write everything down on paper, you can just look at your Instagram story and say, okay, on like 5 days ago, I made the Instagram story with the XX, so I know when it was built.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that really helps with Instagram. And yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice, especially like when me, I'm always taking photos of stuff. Like sometimes I just don't want to write notes down, so like I'll just look back. I can't lie to you.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I told you about the Asian Opus breeding? I literally just
Yeah,
scrolled
yeah.
up and just checked the dates and when I recorded and
Yeah,
took
yeah, yeah.
photos, stuff
Yeah,
like that.
when I started with breeding, I had this folder here where it's everything handwritten about every species I bred and kept until some
Wow.
years ago. And sometimes I write something down on paper, but normally I just write a date on the enclosure with a marker like this scorpion give birth on that day or this spider built an egg on day X, and so you can easily remember the dates. And when it comes to species that I've bred several times now, um, I'll be honest, I don't remember every breeding date from every species I got so far.
With peppers and glowworms is saying so you don't have a YouTube channel. As far as I know, you don't.
No, unfortunately not. I thought about it, but I'm really bad with technology. As you might recognize, I don't have any headphones on or any microphone. I got a microphone and I tried to put it in, but it didn't work, and I don't know why.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm really
Yeah,
bad.
that's literally like all I use nowadays are my AirPods because
Uh,
I spent like 30, 40 pounds on a plug-in mic for my phone. And every time I use it, it's like static in the background. I've tried everything. People say,
okay.
oh, do this, adjust this, put this on your set. It doesn't work. It's the biggest waste of money. It just sits there,
Yeah.
collects dust
So
now.
I'm
So
not a really
AirPods.
um, yeah, I'm not a technology guy either, but I really like the idea of a
Cheap
YouTube
LED
channel
lighting.
because I
Mm.
would like to put more information out there, but it's pretty time consuming. And as I said, I'm studying biology right now, and that's quite time intensive. Not right now. Now is the last week of freedom, but the semester starts again next week, and then I won't be as active on Instagram anymore. Yeah, because with the hobby itself, with my other hobbies, with friends and family and the university and the lack of technology, it's quite hard to create a YouTube channel. But
Mm.
as you may know, our friend Clemens from Austria, he
Where is he?
is,
Is he still here?
I don't know,
I know you're lurking in the background somewhere, Clemens. Pop up.
yeah, but he's like the master of videography of inverts. He's like, I never saw better videos of inverts.
Fantastic stuff.
And we always we have a WhatsApp group with some German speaking friends, and we always say Clemens when I were dropping the YouTube channel. But yeah, nothing until yet. But I
He
think
needs
in
to
the
get a
future,
YouTube channel. If he starts putting like YouTube videos on how to do this photography stuff, he's going to blow up. I can tell you now. He's going to blow
yeah,
up on YouTube.
definitely. And
Where is he? Oh, he's still he's still here.
yeah, maybe I told you already, but Clemens and I are yeah, he says that we are planning an Italy trip to get more information on some European inverts. Clemens is looking for Nemesidae, so the trapdoor spiders, and
Oh yeah.
Scolopendra cingulata, of course, because he's really in love with Scolopendra since I fixed him with them. But someone said a German
Someone's
YouTube.
popped up your Spotify for your
Yeah,
podcast.
okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's my podcast in German. But yeah, Clemens is really into Scolopendra cingulata at the moment, I think, and I'm too. So we're gonna do some field work on them on the Italy trip, and I will be looking, of course, to Euscorpius there, and I think maybe there will be some great video material, but I can't promise anything. Nature is always otherwise than you think. When I did my Crete trip in August, I firstly thought under every rock there would be Euscorpius or something like that, but the first 3 days I turned like 300 rocks. I had bloody hands, but found nothing than some Loxosceles. And then after a few days, you know where you should be looking, and you recognize habitats for these species and for that species. So yeah, nature is always not what you expect.
So yeah, while we're on the topic of like going out and exploring stuff, because that's something I want to do in the future. Like definitely one spot I want to go to is Thailand, and I want to find Lanula in person because it's nice. Oh, Lanula in person, Lanula in their natural habitat. Because I saw a video. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, Chandler's Wildlife. He did a
I know
couple
him,
weeks in
but I don't know
Thailand.
the exact video.
He did a Thailand trip and he was looking for the reptiles and stuff like that. And just randomly during the video, he just has up close footage of a giant female Lanula. And I'm just sitting there like, wow. He found Lanula, David Bowie in just sitting on leaves, and seeing something like that in person would be absolutely fantastic. But I've got to stop chit chatting and get to the questions. So when it comes to planning these trips, what particular things are you guys like looking for? Well, not species, but like habitats. So where are you going? Is there any specific markers that you look for? I know people report where they found stuff like GPS locations and stuff like that. Do you go by that, or do you just like wing it essentially?
I have to say I'm not an expert in that topic, because with inverts, I've only been to Crete last year, and before that I've never left Central Europe. When I was a kid, I always was on vacation in Austria and the Netherlands. Of course, I always searched for reptiles and found something, but especially for inverts, Central Europe is quite boring. And yeah, I think the most important thing is that you firstly know what species live there. And when you know the species, you can do a deep dive on which habitat they're there. You need to read some papers where the animals were found. And even in the papers, if they give GPS coordinates where they found them, sometimes these coordinates are wrong on purpose, that people don't go there and collect there. So not every time, but sometimes you can look on iNaturalist, but that is not that there are not many.
100% reliable, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you oh wait, I have to get another drink. But the most important thing is to calculate with the seasons, because when I was in Greece, it was August. It was too hot, too dry. Wait, I have to get water.
That's okay, no worries, man. I've got another.
So when I was on Crete, it was in August, because I was free in August, and yeah, I didn't know that. So I normally, logically, I could think of it, but I didn't remember it until I was on the plane. August is the hottest and driest month in Greece, and there wasn't anything. You could only found some lizards in the sun, and that was all. And everything I found that was a bit more interesting regarding inverts was at the waterfall or in the deep forest where many shades were. So, oh, sorry.
No
The
worries.
chat doesn't know it already, but I told you in advance I'm suffering from COVID right now again. So, excuse me.
No, honestly, dude, it's been absolutely fantastic so far. It's been a great chat, and it's always nice to put a name to a face and talk because I've only been talking to Hannah's for maybe a couple months, isn't it? Only a couple months we've been chatting, and it feels like we've been associates for ages, friends for ages, pretty much. It's always nice to connect to people and sharing like-minded people. It's what I love about the shows in general. Like a little bit off topic again, but like you have your shows that you go to. Like, is it predominantly reptile shows over there, or do you have like set
We have
invertebrate shows?
invert shows. There are in southern Germany. There is one only spider show. In Marbach, or I think back in the day it was Marbach. Now it's Weinstadt. Doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Some place in southern Germany, and this is primarily tarantulas and some other spiders. I'm sure some scorpions too, but mainly just spiders. And the other ones are just called reptile expos in Germany, in German, but they got everything. So it's reptile expo. Everybody that wants to sell its his or her offspring of reptiles, amphibians, insects, arachnids goes there. So a reptile expo in Germany means like everything that you can keep in a terrarium.
Oh, okay, so all varied species. Like, I think it's quite interesting, hearing from Europe and from America as well that they don't have set invertebrate shows, whereas in the UK we have entomological shows all over, not mainly in the northern areas, I believe, off the top of my head, um, where we have like, of course, the pin stuff, but there is livestock sellers there as well, and we have the invert shows that all over the country. We've got one coming up, which is going to be the one in Harrow, London. That's going to be a first one, which also interesting. We have Richard from the Tarantula Collective coming on over, so
Oh,
that'll be
cool.
great to see him. We have, I think it's 8 or 9 invert shows that are solely inverts and inverts only. Um, we can find all kinds of stuff: tarantulas, scorpions, true spiders. There are a few species are not allowed to put on the tables, but it's not much. It's basically DWAs, Sicarius domithoides, so the sand spiders, and Macrotheli. So anything
Yeah.
else I think is a go-to as long as it's not DWA. But you got to admit, at the shows, the social side, talking to people who are like-minded, and
Yes,
I
definitely.
could stand there for hours talking to people
So do
from
you have a
all kinds of
table or
regions.
do we have a table or
Yes.
okay?
Excuse me. At the this coming show, I do have a table, and I have booked a few more tables for later on in the year. Um, Basically, I'm going to be specializing in the true spiders. A lot of the shows you have some sellers selling true spiders, but you don't have a set guy. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
to be that guy.
I
you know,
noticed the last hum shows that the tables that have like true spiders and scorpions and basically everything else than the tarantula, those tables they collect the most viewers because everyone is like, even the reptile people are like, what is this? Or wow, that's scary spider. That's the most horrifying thing I've seen today. And but yeah, the people are definitely interested in other species. Like the weirder the better. And there's every time there's one guy at the hum show, and I won't mention any names. He's a very highly discussed person in the German hobby.
oh,
Is an importer, and maybe you know him too. And he always got the new stuff. He always got like every invert you can imagine. Not every, but he got some tarantulas, he got some beetles, he got some centipedes, rib
mm.
spiders, rib scorpions,
The
everything.
whole
But
shebang, everything.
yeah, the
Yeah.
whole shebang, and he always gets in some new stuff from imports. And yeah, some people say he's a bit shady because he's mostly selling wild caught animals, and but he has got the rare stuff, and his table is always the fullest. Even people that don't buy, even people that are not at all into inverts, are standing at crowded at his table. And asking questions and looking. And so I think if you ever stand with only true spiders or with majority true spiders, that could be good money for new spiders and feeders.
Yeah, that's the main thing at the end of the day. It's like, yes, I have mentioned it. I am trying to build this whole thing up. So eventually I'll be able to, just work with spiders all day. That's the only thing I want to do in life is just sit down, breed spiders and,
Yeah,
share the love for the truths among other people. That's like the main thing, like the main message I'm always trying to put out is, yes, I could be breeding these because I could make money off them because not a lot of people are making money. And not a lot of people are breeding them. But the main things I'm doing this for is because I enjoy them, first of all. Why would I do it if I don't enjoy it? I want to establish captive bred populations here in the UK because, we've talked in discussion on private messages that, all of a sudden, for example, Cameroon, we don't want to export animals anymore. That means the loss of Peloxenus, the loss of Asianopus species, loss of all kinds of Cetenidae species, wolf spiders, etc., etc. What if they just disappear? We can't import them anymore. Everything we have in the hobby is wild caught. They'll eventually die out. So to have captive bred specimens in the UK just ensures, yes, they have a short lifespan, but I can continue breeding them and keeping them in the
yeah,
UK rather than relying on wild caught imports. Not that I'm against wild caught. Again, I've mentioned that I'm always an advocate for wild caught because it adds fresh genetics into the hobby. With true spiders, we've talked about, stunting of individuals,
yeah,
infertile individuals eventually due to inbreeding.
yeah.
So having fresh genetics flowing in consistently into the hobby does benefit at least the true spiders. But yeah, it's like, just captive bred populations want to share the love and excuse me, basically just doing what I enjoy at the end of the day. And I'm just hoping that every other person that buys or gets spiders off me enjoys them just as much as I do.
Yeah, that's really cool, man, and I can completely understand you. That would be a dream too. But I think for me it's more like I want to look for something new. I want to go to the rainforest and find something new. I'm sure you can understand that too, and I'm sure we can both overlap at the things because I think you will find out something new if you're breeding that much. But can completely understand this passion. I mean, that's what we all like to do. That's I think this is my kind of yoga when I'm sitting down on Sundays and feeding or separating
Mm-hmm.
the strings, and that's just relaxation on a whole another level.
Yeah, honestly, like people say to me, oh, Jim, you got hundreds of slings. How do you deal with it? Yes, my brain does kind of shut off when I'm doing it. Like I just fit close, fit close, fit close. But it's a zen, just I can just
Yeah,
sit here, couple hours, stick a couple podcasts on, some music, and just feed away. And it's just, I could do it quickly, but I like to take photos of my stuff. So, I'm taking hours, drop a
yeah,
food,
yeah.
cameras out, drop a food, cameras out.
And
And,
as a
it's just so relaxing, you just can't beat it.
as I told you, I stopped breeding. Not I stopped. I didn't stop breeding at all, but I stopped breeding like every true spider species I keep because of time issues. And now currently because university didn't start yet, I am having too much time, and I look at my shelves and be like, oh, I could feed the scorpions again, and I could look again if the female maybe give birth yet. But then I say if I can't disturb them too much, and now I'm wishing for a bit more animals because now it's here. It's winter here, but spring is starting, but it's still like the winter season, and I still live at my parents' home, and I have everything in my room. Maybe I can show it. There's one shelf.
Oh, we get to see the collection.
And my room is really messy, so I have to be careful. And back,
You should see the state of my room at the moment,
back,
man. It's a complete
back
state.
there is another shelf
Oh,
with
wow.
some more glass enclosures, and
Hold on. I'll put you
on
on
top
the
of the
big
desk are
screen.
some two.
There we go. Put you on the big
Yeah,
screen if you want to show off a little bit more. People can
yeah,
get a good
okay.
look.
Basically, just here on these are the bigger glass enclosures for some arboreal tarantulas or some here the one with the plants. They are Phrynos longipes, whip spiders or whip
Oh, okay.
scorpions. No, whip spiders from Cuba, I think. Um, this this whole shelf is basically scorpions. So all these white boxes are mated female European scorpions like Alpiscorpius or Scorpius. All these are captive bred offspring scorpions for myself. All these small boxes, and this big enclosure. There's one pair of Aegeobutus gibosus, yellow-tailed European scorpion. I don't know any common names.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then some feeders on the top and some tongues and boxes here at the bottom. And
All the
the other
supplies
shelf
on the
is
bottom.
the other shelf is just mixed bag, some enclosures, some bigger offspring, some scorpion males, and that's basically all. Some people think I have like extra room for that, but no, this is all in my childhood bedroom.
Yeah. It's like with me, like I always say it as a joke, like with a running joke with my thing is my bedroom is a bug room with a bed in it. It's not a bedroom, it's a
Yeah,
bug
yeah,
room with a
yeah,
bed in it. It's like literally wardrobe, bed. That's all I need. Everything else,
yeah,
I've crammed inverts wherever I can find space. And so just trying to it's just nice to come home and just have a look around and peep in the
yeah.
enclosures and
Every
just
night
see what's going on. It's like
every
today
night
I just
when I
found
come
the
home,
Cupiana Sale female with an egg sac I paired a couple months ago. So I'm gonna have thousands of Cupiana Sale running around soon.
but I think this is the best feeling when you uh, go up one morning, or you can come home late in the evening and you see there's another egg, or you see a scorpion female with freshly birthed younglings on that, and you think like, man, I didn't think that was popping out now, or maybe sometimes it's a whole surprise because you didn't pair them up or something like that. And this is the moments I live for in the hobby. These are like when life begins from a new point, and this is so cool.
It's the best feeling, honestly. It's like with the Asian Opus Spectans egg sac. When I cut that open, because I got excited, I knew I could have waited a couple weeks, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I was so excited. I cut that open just to see little wiggly legs. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Like I know you mentioned with the breeding is easy, but I've got footage of insertion into the female on camera. So the plan is to raise these slings up at least a couple months. I'm going to do an ultimate guide for Asian Opus
oh,
expectants. So
that would be
from raising
amazing.
the slings, pairing them, incubating the egg sac, and just the whole shebang. Just so people know, because you
Yeah,
see the footage on YouTube. It's from like 10 years ago of a male for 7 minutes. Just that's it,
yeah.
and you hear all the noise and stuff in the background. But to have like a voiceover video talking about it, it's just something that
and
we need out there for people
and
to.
do yourself a favor and keep every sling, because I did the mistake and I had 5XX, and I gave some away to friends. I didn't sold many, but I gave some away to friends that are really knowledgeable in the hobby, but they are more used to tarantulas, and in my care too, many died of them, and I
Hmm.
shouldn't gave them away so early. I should have keep all the eggs, and then I went on holiday and nobody fed or watered them for 1.5 weeks, and
Oh
many
no,
died. And out of all these 5 eggs, I only had 2 slings survive, and both matured as a male, and both males died. And
just
I
died.
tried to give them away, but there weren't any females around, so nobody wanted those, and so these males died without a purpose. And yeah, I'm still angry about myself because I had this species. I had plenty of offspring. I had 5XX. I mean, the XX are small, only 20 to 30 or 20 to 40 slings in there, but yeah, I had the chance to establish a breeding stock, and I crashed it, and
Crashed it. Yeah, that's the
that's
one
the
thing I'm
most important
trying not
thing.
to do.
The most important thing if you want to establish a species in the hobby is um, to not sell directly. I mean, I get the thoughts because, of course, yeah, you get these species around in the hobby, but if you really want to establish a breeding stock, you need at least like 5 females paired up, 5 to 10. The more, the better, and you can drown on slings. You can always give them away then, but if you give them away too early, they they will die in some care, or some people won't pair them up, and then the species
Yeah.
will die out in the hobby again. So that's my problem with scorpions right now. I have some cool species, and I have really cool offspring, and some people are asking me all the time when they are available, but yeah, I won't sell them away for another year or so until I have at least like 5
A
more.
few pairs to keep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like with the Maderiana, when I posted about the success of the eggs hatching, I had messages flooding in with people saying, "Oh, we're interested in these. How much will they be?" and stuff like that. The things haven't even left the mom's back yet. So
Really?
what I've
Okay.
done now is on top of the shelf, excuse the bucket on the bed, up there,
Yeah.
but are the babies I'm holding back. So I'm holding back 25 from the large female, 25 from the small female. So pretty much all the babies from her, all for future breeding. Because as you said, you can hold back thousands, and you may end up with little to none left over from that egg
Yeah.
sac, because stuff happens. Mismolts happen, random deaths happen.
Yeah.
So I'm being precautious, although I do have both females on egg sacs again. So I'm
Oh,
gonna have a
yeah.
few more babies. But yeah, it's just being, yeah, as you said, I've had regrets as well. I captive bred Tetrapoda David Bowie. I sold all of them pretty much, and I regret it because someone I know who bought some babies off me had a Gydandromorph, where it's split in half, male
Yeah.
female.
Oh,
He
in
had a
Heteropoda?
Gydandromorph Heteropoda David Bowie.
Oh.
I will get the photo and I'll send it to you. It is the
Yeah,
coolest
please,
thing
please.
ever. It
Oh,
is
that
so
that is
cool. And I
so
was like,
interesting.
that came from my babies.
Oh, I know that from some tarantula species, but I didn't know any case of
That's
Heteropoda.
why I mean. He posted it on the group and I was like, whoa, dude, this is so cool. Where did you get the baby from? I was like,
Oh,
dude, this is from your babies. I was like, no way.
this is like one in 20 million or stuff
uh,
like that.
that was massive chance of not happening. And to have one in captivity from my breeding,
Pretty
it's
cool.
crazy. It's crazy. I couldn't believe it. And like now I'm just sitting here like I should have kept more babies back, because now I only have two that I've held back. So we live and we learn, and stuff like that we learn in the hobby through breeding. And again, there's always mistakes and stuff like that. Is there another topic that we could quickly talk about? Is there any like highs and lows that have helped your hobby that you've had?
Hmm. Yeah, I would say the biggest mistake you can make as a beginner is like getting too much animals too fast, because as you know, with
Yes.
inverts, it's quite easy to stack boxes, and it's quite easy to keep them alive. But if you get too much animals too fast, you will have
Ignore that.
problems with
Stack boxes.
buying feeders or watering them, and then many people get out of the hobby again because sometimes deaths happen. And I know a guy who bought his first spiders from me, and then after a few weeks he got like 50 or something like that, and then nearly all of them died. And then he said, "Yeah, I want to get out of the hobby again." And yeah, that's a shame, because you don't have to rush things. You can quote unquote work your way up.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean that you
definitely.
have to work your way up for some species. That's not the case. That's often the case in the tarantula community. People think, "Oh, I want to keep that species, but before I have to keep this, and this species," and that's the wrong way. If
Yeah.
you really want to keep a species, then do all the research on it, and you will have
Yes.
fun and success with it.
That is one thing that I've always wanted to put across is, yes, there are species that we've discussed today, and species that are stigmatized to being, you need to have experience with this many species or own a lot of species. But the main thing is, when it comes to wanting species that you're not comfortable as of yet, is question yourself. Think about whether how do I say this? So look at your current care. How many spiders have you been able to raise from slings to good sized juveniles, or juveniles to adult specimens? Not necessarily you need to total it, but just look at the overall success that you're having in your hobby. Then, of course, comes along with research. So look at the species you're looking to get. With some of the common species like OBTs, people are worried about OBTs, but there's a lot of information proving that OBTs aren't as bad as they're stigmatized to be. So, do your research, find out what kind of space and enclosures, look at multiple sources. That's also another thing that I always like to say.
Yeah,
Don't take one person's word for it. Always multi-source, because one person could be different to nine other keepers. in, substrate depth, size, housing, etc. You know, and just progress slowly. Don't, of course, as you said, don't rush in. Take your time. Enjoy the hobby for what it is. One thing like I kind of miss doing is raising up slings from babies, but I can't really say that now because I've got thousands of them at this point.
Yeah,
But
but
like
I
3 years
I
ago,
know what you mean
having
because
hmm,
back in the day when I looked for certain species, I was always looking for slings because I wanted to raise them. And now, for example, I'm looking for Eresus, and I would like to have like at least subadults or adults, so I can start the process at the beginning, so I can start like
hmm,
breeding them. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like I kind of miss like raising them up from little slings to adults, but I have enough slings for my offspring, so the I can do the raising part
to
on
keep you
them.
busy.
Yeah, yeah. And another important thing that helped me in the hobby is like talk to people, reach out to people on Instagram.
Yes.
As we did it, we didn't know each other from any other persons. I think we just I saw your Clement sent me your story because you had Barilestis Zarisoi, the Chinese
Yeah.
Barilestis. And I was stunned by that, and then we started talking, and now we are pretty good friends and doing this live stream. And this is so cool. And we have in our generation, we have the opportunity to use the internet to connect. And I know some people that are in the hobby for 40 to 50 years now, and they had to write letters and have to wait weeks for replies and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
now we can shop for inverts online. We can talk to everyone from the other end of the world, and we should use this opportunity to to get more knowledge, to get better in keeping. And yeah, I mean, we have even easy access to papers. You can like not every paper, but you can easily get taxonomic information. You can get habitat information, and reading papers is not as hard as it seems, especially for people that are native in English. Um, you have to read the abstract at first, and there's everything you want to know, and then you can like scroll down and search
Yeah.
for the
Literally
specific
just
name.
read what it's about, find out whereabouts in the papers your information that you're looking for, and just scroll. Don't have to
Yeah,
read the
and
whole thing.
you learn so much with reading papers because sometimes there are words that you don't understand, and then you look them up, and then you see, okay, this is Greek for example, here with Eresus, when the slings eat the mother, the word for it is matri fargus, and matri is, I think, Old Greek for mother, and fargus is something that eats something,
Mhm.
freely translated now, but so in that way you learn to how to read like more scientific abstracts, and yeah, you just learn more about the animal and biodiversity in general, and you can easily improve your care and your breeding and get some questions answered
Through
and that.
that. Yeah. It's like, I would think back to lockdown when we first started the lockdowns in 2020. I was still referring to tarantulas as like Brazilian black, red knee, stuff like that. But of course, having nothing to do, I'd sit down and do God knows how long research of reading all kinds of stuff on websites, watching videos, articles on the internet, of course, taxonomic papers. And now, like, people are always saying to me, like, Jeremy, how do you remember these scientific names? It's just drilled into me. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's just practice at the end of the day.
yeah,
As much
definitely.
as the more repeat, God, I'm tongue twisting today. I do apologize. The more repetitive you are with reading and pronouncing, I apologize. So I was trying to basically what I'm trying to say. The more repetitive you are with information, the more it's going to stick with you. And
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
um, I always find myself to be more visually learning than more auditory because, of course, everyone pronounces words differently. So I have the words in front of me. Everything. I wouldn't say everything. Majority of my stuff in my room is all labeled. So I'm looking at this name. Okay, this is it. This is it. This is it. And then at the shows as well, I'll also label common name if they have one, scientific name, and the numbers showing sex. So
Yeah,
point
yeah,
one, point 1.1 and point one.
yeah,
Just and people are asking, oh, what's this all about? And I like to explain it to them, and it's just a starting point because if people are interested at the shows, then they'll go home and research it further.
yeah,
And then, of course, as we said, it does improve your husbandry in general because, for example, with the common names with brachypelmas, flame knee, flame leg, blood
Blood
leg,
leg.
it's all similar, you know?
Yeah.
So at least if you know like Aphonopelma bicoloratum, Brachypelma smithi, Brachypelma homori, at
Yeah.
least you know exactly what you're researching for and how to, adjust your husbandry according
And
to said species.
it opens a whole another world for you because as we take maybe some Asian species like Chilobrachys for example, when someone uses a common name I have to Google it. Yeah, same, I can't remember any common names. That's funny when you listen to some American YouTubers or some of the bigger. I won't stigmatize Americans right now, but I think it's more a thing in America than in Europe than using common names. And
Yes.
often they use common names for some newly imported Asian fossorial tarantulas that are like, well, this is the blue fang earth tiger super cool brown leg and
It's
it's
got to have
just
Earth Tiger if it's fossorial, isn't it?
yeah, and it's just like it looks the same as every other one of the genus, but it got like 3 more hairs and a bit more brownish leg coloration. And for example, maybe like the term earth tiger, and like the standard 5 Chilobrachys species. But if you are more into the scientific side, and I don't know how many Chilobrachys species there are actually, Clemens will know, but you can research more and you will learn, oh, there's another species that lives in this particular region, and this species is different because it got different hairs on different legs, and what are these legs called, or what are these hairs called? Then you learn so much more about the taxonomy of some animals, but about the animal itself, because you need to know the biology of the animal or the anatomy of the animal to define what species it is. So you learn about everything more. You learn about countries. I learned so much about European geography because of scorpions, because I looked up where the scorpions live, and then I know, okay, Italy has these many regions with this geographically formed habitats, and you learn so much in total when you read papers, not just about animals, but also about other countries, about some plants, maybe about some habitats. It's really cool.
Yeah, honestly, it's so beneficial to our hobby because, learning where exactly these species are located for individual species. So like, people will go back to the tarantulas. So Chilobrachys, lump them all together, fossorial, humid. But if you delve into it a little bit further, you could probably find out the exact region they come from can be a little bit drier, or get a little bit less humid in certain areas, so you could potentially keep them a little bit drier, and it could be beneficial to that spider. They can molt more,
I
eat
have a
more.
nice example for this with Chilobrachys, a friend of mine. He is really into natural enclosures of tarantulas, and he got one Chilobrachys species. It's one of the ones that have blue in it. I don't know which one. This Discosolus. I don't know
Oh,
anything about.
Discolus blue.
Yeah, I don't know anything
Yeah.
about tarantula taxonomy, so please forgive me. But he said that in the papers, and some people that found them in the wild said that they live primarily between rock cliffs. So they don't
Oh,
dig really in the ground. They live between rock cracks.
so
All
gaps in the hills and stuff like that. Then.
yeah, more on the hills and
Mm.
really between rocks. And then he said he put wait, I have to correct the grammar in my head. Then he said he designed an enclosure with big stones all over it, and then normally Chilobrachys, when you don't give them enough substrate, they will wrap everything up. But
Yeah.
now this specimen just lives between 2 big stones and just wrapped up the crack where it's living, and that's how they live in nature. And many people don't know that, but
Wow.
he did the outreach, he read the papers, he wrote to some people who found them in the wild, and I think nearly nobody in the hobby, or not many people, know that these fairly common Chilobrachys live between rocks in nature and not in the ground. Yeah, Clemens. Yeah.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
But that is really interesting, like to know. So is that more of like a? I know you don't know too much, but after talking to him, is that more of a general Killer husbandry,
I honestly
or
don't know. I think
don't know?
Clemens.
Yeah, that's fair
I
enough.
think
Yeah.
Clemens is the right man for this. I think he will have to come on another episode with us to talk about this, maybe.
Yes, we're gonna do a
Uh,
joint episode together.
and I will ask my friends, but I honestly don't know. It's not true at all. Clemens, please correct us. But I think for at least this species, it's. I saw the pictures, and I think it's kind of true.
It's
They are,
really
I think,
interesting. And
pretty
again,
rare.
with stuff like that, it's always interesting to see how we can improve our husbandry in the hobby. Not necessarily in the way we keep currently is bad, but to get as naturalistic as possible is something that, I will always strive for. I'm assuming you will always strive for. And what I think like should be in the hobby, like, people will just keep like not slating it, but I could keep a huntsman just in a box with a piece of cork slab and that's it.
Yeah,
I can leave it like that. But like for example, luckily it's right here. My one of my female lanulas is in this style enclosure, live plant for her to climb onto, cork bark piece, leaf litter, stuff for them to interact with because that's what you'll see in the wild. They'll stay medium height on a leaf, waiting for prey to come along. Sometimes you'll see them near the bottom, very rarely, but it's always nice to get as naturalistic and um, as to the same habitat as where they originate from.
yeah,
Because
and that's the key when you want to see a species that is often hidden more, because with many Scolopendra or some scorpions I keep, if you keep them like the standard way, like substrate, one height or two heights, they will always hide. But when you sprinkle some leaf litter over it or put some more branches in and some smaller pieces of corkboard that maybe are too small to hide under, but to mimic a forest floor or something like that, the animals will stroll out more often looking for food and stuff because they feel more safe and not so exposed. And that's always a good thing I noticed with Euscorpius, for example. When you keep them in small boxes with two pieces of clay, not clay,
slate,
slate
yeah,
and stuff like that. And when you like 3 weeks in a row look under one slate where they sit under, they will change their height because they know, okay, this slate is opened often. And when you only have one slate and you look in from time to time, they will be stressed because they know this is the only thing to hide under. Or I don't know if they can know that, if they have the intelligence for this, but they will be more stressed. And I think,
more of an instinctual thing, isn't it? Like the
yeah,
feeling of being exposed.
yeah, and I think that's the key to successfully keep and breed many invert species is to offer many heights, to offer much structure, so the animal can search the place where it wanna be and where the right humidity is, and stuff like that. So when you only have, do you know this pet shop like enclosures, cocoa fiber, one dead skull, and this half of a coconut? These,
I hate.
yeah,
I'm sorry, but those setups are terrible. I don't know why they keep stop doing that. It's just
yeah.
it's
And
just not. I'm sorry.
sometimes I see people. I mean, with inwards, it's a spider won't care if the hide is out of like nature material or like some different kind of material.
plastic, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I see that often. I don't know how much are you into reptiles, but I see that kind of often that people that have the money and the sources too, that they keep like a leopard gecko in a tank with. I mean, that it's not kept wrong. It have the right conditions. It has the right lighting, the right temperatures. It have heights in different spots, but it looks so unnatural and it's out of
Mm.
unnatural materials. And I think it's, why would you want to keep an animal at home in like these conditions when you can observe its natural behavior in a natural looking environment that's beneficial for the animal and the keeper? And yeah, I don't understand why people try to make these enclosures.
Yeah, it's like with again, I'll say with the tubs, it's like I always with every single enclosure. I think Clemens mentioned earlier when it comes to enclosure type. He said whether we prefer plastic or glass. Whether it's glass, whether it's plastic, I will always try to include as much interactive stuff for my
Yeah,
animals as possible. Because with the Satanic with the Sparacidae, they are always out patrolling their enclosures at night. Like sometimes when I can't sleep, all I'll do is put my torch on, lie sideways, and just look at my desk because my bed's
yeah,
right next to my desk. So I'll just stare at them. You'll see the Peloctonus slowly patrolling. You'll see the Lanula position themselves in an area all spread out, and they'll constantly find new spots to sit in if they're not finding any prey. And it's
yeah,
that behavior you won't see if the animal is kept in a bare
yes,
tub.
definitely.
You know,
And I mean, don't get me wrong. If you have like a whole exarch of Piloctenus, not everyone needs a big glass enclosure. I mean, the majority of true spiders. I raise like I raise like this.
little
Yeah,
cups.
exactly.
Yeah,
And and that's okay. But if you are just a keeper that just keeps the animals for the joy and for the biology of the animals, why do you take a plastic box with cocoa fiber and that's it? You can like
and happy
it's,
as
it's,
days with
it's
that.
always
Yeah,
fun to create a cool enclosure with some rocks, some plants, and to see the animal like it's there's nothing
utilizing
more.
it all, isn't it? It's like you know, with the wolf spiders, giving them the space and to enjoy you know, my Hogna Maduriana. Oh, by the way, guys, I did have a video released tonight of me redoing my not Hogna Maduriana, for God's sake, Hog- Hogna Carolinensis. I rehoused my adult female into a large glass enclosure. Unfortunately, I don't have a male, so I thought, you know what, just to give her the space to enjoy. I gave her a nice large glass enclosure. I'm not going to pick up; it's on the floor at the moment. But at night she'll come out of her burrow. She'll patrol the whole area, and if I just kept her in a small little plastic tub with a piece of cork, she wouldn't enjoy that. And seeing them do this natural behavior because this is what they'll do in the wild. They'll come out of their burrow, they'll explore around and see if there's any prey nearby. If not, they'll go back into their burrow and sit with their legs out.
Yeah,
And you just
and
don't
I
see
mean,
that behavior with a simple hide and
yeah,
basic
definitely.
substrate.
And I mean, seeing a heteropoda lunula female sitting on glass is quite cool. But seeing a heteropoda lunula sitting under a leaf is even cooler.
That is the coolest thing, honestly. Seeing them utilize the pothos and stuff like that. I need to buy more pothos. But regardless, seeing them do the natural behaviors is just something that, at the end of the day, it's satisfying for me. The animal is happy and healthy and enjoying their time in the enclosure. It's like with us, with the fish keeping, escaping the enclosure to make it look visually pleasing to you because you don't necessarily handle the fish. Don't
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
see yourself diving in there. It's like the same thing with the tarantulas. Having a nice setup for them because yes, people hold the tarantulas, but I don't personally. But if I see the tarantula out and about happy, then I'm happy.
yeah. That's how it should be. Yeah,
Definitely agree on that. Whew, well, this has been an absolutely fantastic stream, dude. I know we literally said we'll go for the hour, but look, it's almost 2 hours now.
yeah,
And like we said, it's been absolutely fantastic to have you on, and I really do appreciate it. And the people in the chat, I know you haven't been seeing it, but they've all been saying it's been a fantastic stream, listening to you
I'm
talk.
glad
And
to hear that. Yeah,
it's always nice to give a platform to the younger guys in the hobby. Not dissing any of the other guys, but getting a young face out there. I mean, come on, 19 and you're so knowledgeable already. It's really, really nice to get a nice chat to. And again, look, I have comments coming in already saying some of the best lives that people have listened to. So again,
glad to hear
dude,
that. Yeah,
thank you so, so much for coming on the stream. And guys, if you haven't already, definitely do follow me on Instagram. And, if you speak German, if any German listeners are out there listening to this back, follow him on Spotify. How often do you release the podcast? Is it a consistent thing or every
uh,
now and then?
every now and then,
Hmm.
my friends are always asking, but I always say, yeah, I'm gonna do this week, but then something comes up. But yeah, I'm planning to do more English podcasts, and this one worked really fine. So if you want, I'm inviting you to come on my podcast. We could talk about like anything
That
you
would be
want. I think
amazing.
today we scratched the surface of the iceberg. But I think there will be plenty of topics we can discuss in the future too.
Look, everyone's saying ages and guys, I didn't mean it in that way. I meant it's like, showing the young faces and how knowledgeable some of us can be, I'm okay, before I get myself into a hole. But again, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Invertcast live. This is the first time I have done a live stream of this kind with the podcast. So if you guys have enjoyed it today, definitely do come back and listen back to it. I definitely will be doing so during some feedings. I don't like my own voice, but I'll obviously be listening back to what we've been talking about today. But yeah, again, guys, thank you so much for joining the stream. If you guys could share this around, leave a like, leave a comment on the stream. I really do appreciate everyone that stuck around from the beginning to the end. And yes, so this has been the Invertcast. My name is Jeremy from Jeremy's Wild World, and I'll see you guys on the next one, hopefully.